people can't be here, so I'm just going to let it record me and your questions and sort of what we talk about. I don't want to keep it here too long. More than anything, this is like a pep talk. And a chance to answer your questions. But let me just do the pep talk part of it first, which is part information, part, you can do this. It's not as big a deal as I think sometimes you think it is. Or you psych yourself out. So here you are, you're seniors. Were you here for plenary when you were in first year in this room? No, you were too big of a class. I think the class before you had plenary in this room. So when I saw them last year in this room as seniors, they're like, we haven't been in here since first year. Congratulations. There are many people who aren't here. You're a bigger class than what looks like, but it's a nice big class. So part of my aim in meeting with you tonight and sort of passing my information and my wisdom on is to make sure that every single one of you walks across that stage in May. I want every single one of you to complete because you can do it. You absolutely can do it. But there are some things you need to know about how to sort of organize the year and stay on top of things that I think can be helpful. So you have courses to do and you have a thesis to do. The thesis is not the only thing you're doing. If you were a graduate student and you were at this stage, the only thing you would be doing would be your dissertation, because your dissertation is a big ass thing. It's a book, it's the rest of your life, it's better be something you really care about because you sort of set yourself up for the rest of your life with that project, and it better be going pretty well or your life is going to be hell. That's not what you're doing. That's not what you're doing. You're doing an undergraduate thesis. An undergraduate thesis is completely different from a graduate thesis in so many ways. The problem is that your advisor, your faculty supervisor, the person who's advising your thesis, has a terminal degree and carries some of the PTSD of their own thesis writing process into the process with you. And so sometimes you just kind of get those vibrations from the person that you're working with because what they remember of the thesis is not their undergraduate thesis, it's that other thing that was very angsty and very big. And that's not you. So first, I want to say sometimes you need to be the ones with the perspective because your faculty person will not always have that perspective. So you need to be the ones with the perspective. An undergraduate thesis is more than anything a process. It's not so much about the final product as a graduate thesis, which is all about the final product. If I was doing a graduate thesis and I met with my advisor, my faculty advisor on the day I submitted my proposal, and we had a big talk about that proposal and how I was going to go about my business. And then I went away, to another country for 2 years, occasionally sent him stuff, and then came back at the end of 2 years with a dissertation. I could absolutely pass that thing, pass my defense, become whatever it was I was becoming, a PhD probably. I don't need to talk to my advisor that much. Most people do, but I don't need to. If I'm in the humanities like I am, I could have gone away for 2 years. I could have come back with a done product. He would have been kind of amazed that I did it without him. But if it was decent, if it was good, it's going to get vetted by a whole bunch of people. If they say it's good, I get my degree. Not so for the undergraduate thesis. The undergraduate thesis is all about the process. It's all about the relationship that you have with your advisor, with your thesis advisor. It's all about staying in touch with that person through the whole process, not going away, not going to a different country, not even just going across town, writing your thesis and coming back when it's done, because that has not in any way respected the process. It's a apprenticeship, but it's also about life. Like many of you are not going to go to graduate school. A lot of you will, and in that way, it's great rehearsal. It's like a really mini rehearsal. But many of you are not going to do that. You're not going to write a dissertation. You're going to go on, you're going to do great things. You might go to graduate school, but it might be graduate school like med school or law school or something that doesn't require a dissertation. Most of you are probably not going to write a dissertation. The undergraduate thesis is really just about teaching you about life. Like, what is it like to have a project, to have a relationship at the heart of that project that's going to get you through the process, and then to pace yourself through that project and come up with a product at the end. That's life. So let's make it about that and not about the thing that is going to determine the rest of your life. It's about life, but it's not about the rest of your life. You go to graduate school, you'll make that choice then. You'll go to graduate school and you'll find the person who you're going to work with before you even apply to that school. That's how you're going to choose your graduate school if you do a PhD. You're going to read all that person's work. You're going to say, that's the person I want to work with, and you're going to apply to that school. And you're going to go to that school, even if it's in a gross place, even if it's an ugly campus, even if everything about the location is bad, because that's the person you want to work with. You're going to choose graduate school very differently from the way you chose your undergrad. That's that. You're here now. You're going to do an undergraduate thesis, and it's going to be an exercise. It's going to be a great exercise. You're going to be really, really happy with it when you finish it. Not necessarily going to be happy with the product. You might not love the product. Lots of people feel pretty ambivalent about their product when it's done. They're like, well, it could have been better. Yeah, right. You're an undergraduate. Of course it could have been better. Like, I'm writing a book right now. Of course it could be better. Like, it can always be better. You might say, no, it could be like quite a bit better. Right. When you're a graduate student, write that thing. The process should be great, though. The process should be great. You should feel like you really learned something through the process. Not just the angsty bits, but the whole thing should be pretty great. And I mean great, like as in you're learning something all the time. Not that you're always happy. Like there will be ups and downs, but it should be a really, really good process. Now, what will guarantee that it's a good process? One simple thing, which is sometimes elusive for people because they don't take care of it. And that is the relationship that you have with your thesis advisor. If that's a good relationship, and I don't mean it has to be good like you're going to want to like go downtown and have coffee with that person. You might, but it doesn't have to be like that. That person does not need to be your buddy, but that person needs to be pretty invested in you and your project enough to answer your emails, to be there when they're supposed to be there for your office appointments, and who has great conversations with you about your project regularly, every 2 weeks. If that person is that to you, it'll be a great process. Even if in the end the product is like, like it's okay, but it could have been better. But I had a great process working on it with this person from whom I learned a ton. And I learned a lot about how to manage a project, where I need to be careful about time management. Like all this stuff you're going to learn in the process is really going to stick with you. 5 years from now, you might not even be able to say what your thesis was about to someone, but you'll remember the process because it will have taught you a lot. The key to that is the relationship. And you are really responsible for that relationship, though that person is, sort of the professor. In terms of the thesis, you are responsible for that relationship. You initiate it. You've sat down with that person and asked them to supervise your work. You've done that. And you're going to initiate all the contact that you have from now on. And even if it's in terms of sitting down and saying, this is our schedule for the semester. That's up to you. You should go and see that person. Now, it might be somebody like me who's like, every 2 weeks on Friday at noon, we're going to meet. That's me. But not everybody does that. If you don't show up at that appointment and it's me, I'm going to email you and say, where are you? You should have been here. You need to get your stuff to me. Is something going on? Do you need to chat with me? That's me. I'm the Dean of the Honors College. That's partly why I'm Dean of the Honors College, because I do that kind of stuff with students. because I'm invested in the honors experience with students in that kind of way. There are most people, rightly so, have a whole lot of other stuff going on in their lives. It's my job to be invested in honors students, so I will do it. But other people have other stuff going on, and they're going to wait for you. If they don't hear from you, they're going to track you down. Not that they don't care, it's just not their job. Your project. You get in touch. If you fall off the grid for 4 months, and in December, that person has to assign a grade for the 3 credits of thesis that you're doing this semester, and the grade is an SP or a UP satisfactory progress or unsatisfactory progress, and they haven't seen you for 4 months, you could be working your butt off. You could have great stuff. You didn't check in with that person, they're going to give you a UP. Then it's over. It's done. That's an F. It's finished. So you go check in with that person all the time. Like, make sure that they know what progress you're making. If they have not seen you make progress, even if you're making it, that's a UP. Like, unsatisfactory. I've seen no progress. I haven't heard from Michael since last April. Michael's like toiling away, working on his experiments, writing all this great theoretical physics, but he hasn't talked to me. UP. Unsatisfactory. I haven't seen it. Of course it's unsatisfactory. Okay, so that's easy though. That's easy. Like, that's easy. That's just like, be in touch. See them every 2 weeks. Sit down and with that person, and when they've got their calendar open, see them write it in their book or write it on their screen every Friday at noon or every other Friday or whatever it is that you need. This is when we're going to meet. And every time you have a meeting, you've got something to show them. The night before, you send them something so that they have something to respond to. They can see your progress. You might not have anything that looks like a thesis till the end of January. Maybe that's when you start doing your writing. You start doing your writing over the December break. In January, you're starting to get get ahead of steam. You have something that actually looks thesis-like, or like your introduction or part of your first chapter or whatever at the end of January. Okay, that's great. Until then, you haven't had anything like that, but you've had stuff. You've done lots of stuff. And the faculty person has seen the stuff that you've done. You've had conversations. They've seen your work. They have evidence that you're doing 3 credits worth of work. That's the fall is often that. The writing often, the actual product piece often happens in earnest starting in January. That's typical. That doesn't mean take a holiday till then, like you're ready to, like you're just executing in January. You're all set, and in January you just start executing. I'm set. I've read everything I need to read. I got all the notes. I've documented things. Now I'm just writing it. Or you write, or you start now, because that's the kind of writer you are. It depends on your process. But you're going to bring your faculty advisor into the process, into your process at every juncture. Every year there's people who, don't pass the thesis, though they've worked all year on it because they let that relationship go. So, there's a Kleenex box in my office. Like, half that box is used in the last 2 weeks of April by seniors who I can do nothing but just give them Kleenex, because I can't do anything about it at that point. Like, that's not my call. I mean, truly, I cannot make a call to a thesis advisor and say, this person deserves to pass. It's like, not my call. I'll give you plenty of Kleenex. I'll tell you that your life is not over. It will be fine, but I can't make it better. I can't make the thesis better. And that's like negligence. That's just negligence. I mean, my heart breaks for people when they're in that position, but I'm not going to say, this is your fault. It's the wrong thing to say at that moment, but it is the truth. It is the truth. And everybody sitting on that couch on that day knows that, so I don't need to say it anyway. I just need to say, you'll recover. But yeah, big disappointment. And you can't graduate as an honors college scholar. Because I can't do anything about it. Like, I can't. Like, all this stuff needed to happen, like, for these months. So that is it. That is my piece of advice for you, is engage in the process with your faculty supervisor. The process will be what it will be for you based on the thesis that you're doing. It will be different for everybody. But it should be a process that at every moment involves your faculty supervisor. If you run into trouble with that relationship, and it happens from time to time, that person's not returning your emails, that person's not in the office when they say they're going to be, you're trying to get some feedback on your work, and that person is not giving you feedback on your work, and so it's no fault of your own that things are kind of going south, then you definitely come and see us. Okay, that's what we're here for, those kinds of things. It doesn't happen very often. It does happen from time to time. It does. But it doesn't, it doesn't happen very often. And when it does, that's when you come and see us. You come and see me, or you see, in the spring, I won't be there, but you'll probably come and see Associate Dean Ian Grimmer, who's great. And many of you know Ian because you took class with him. He's our new Associate Dean. And he's actually in charge of junior and senior advising. So if you have a big thesis snafu, and you need somebody to talk to who doesn't have any particular skin in the game, so it's not one of your advisors, it's not necessarily in your college, then you come and talk to Ian. And, I'll just give him the Kleenex when I go on sabbatical. Just don't need Kleenex. You won't need it if you take care of the process. You won't need it. It's a good project, but it's not 100 pages. If you're in the lab, it's like a scientific paper. If you're not in the lab, if you're working in the humanities or the social sciences kind of area, it's 40 pages. That's 4 10-page papers. You can totally do that. 4 10-page papers. You can totally do that. You have to have a plan, you have to be making progress, but it's 4 10-page papers. It's not 100 pages, it's not 200 pages, it's not a book, doesn't have to be publishable. If you're working in the creative arts, then it's kind of its own thing. There's probably got to be some writing that goes along with it, but it could be a show, it could be lots of different things, it could be a film. There's lots of ways of defining the thesis. You've all been through the process probably of a proposal and having a proposal evaluated, reviewed and approved. The proposal is not a contract. It's a proposal. That means you haven't done the work yet. You've done enough work to know that you want to propose this thing, but it's not a contract. So if your work starts to depart from that proposal, because it does, like you start working on it and it's like, wait, I'm doing something that's a little bit different from what I said I was going to do. If it's just a little bit different, if it's like a natural departure that would naturally come as a result of that proposal, then just keep going. It's fine. It's not a contract. Nobody's going to go back at your defense and say, but in your proposal, you said you were going to do this, and you did not, so you fail. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody ever looks at your proposal again, including you. Don't look at it. It's done. Like, just get on with it. Just get on with it. It's a formality. I mean, that's the secret. You got to do it to get going on it. But then you're going to kind of put it away and just let the proposal, do the work that it did, and now let the thesis do the work that it will do. If you've come up with a completely different project, like I was working on Milton, but now I'm going to work on Jane Austen, then you have to have a new proposal. And that needs to go in by the 26th of September, so you better know that right now. Because then it's done, like it's too late. Like the last time to turn in a proposal if you're a senior that wants to graduate in May is September 26th. If you're in College of Arts and Sciences. If you're in the other colleges, it varies, but you're probably real close to being like at the end of where you can do that. So you kind of don't want to really change course in a really dramatic way. You want to find a way to make it work, more or less, with your proposal. But remember that the proposal's not a contract, so some people get really hung up that like is kind of a hamstringing moment because they'll be like, it's not what I said on my proposal. It's like, just do it. You're growing. The project is growing. Milton probably didn't know Paradise Lost was going to look what it looked like when he started. Greatest poem in the English language. Thank God he didn't just like go with his proposal. It's better. So do what you need to do in terms of how your there'll definitely be surprises. So embrace the surprises. They're good. That's my wisdom. That's my advice. That's my information. That's pretty much all I got in terms of that, because I'm not going to be that involved. The Honors College is not going to be that involved, except as your cheerleading section. And we will, cheerlead. You have a copy card. You can come, we'll give you little gifts every once in a while. So, you can come to cookies on Tuesday at 4:30, or you can come to Tina and sign up for a copy card. And I think you get $10 or $15 on your CAT card. I mean, it's called a copy card. We used to actually give copy cards out. So that's like a kind of that's an artifact, that phrase. $15 on your CAT card. You can use it for coffee. Do whatever you want with it. It's not, but the idea is that you'll use it for copies. But if the P turns into an F, that's fine. Nobody will ever know. No, I'm way too clever. $15. So we'll give you a little. It's not much, but it's a little something. It says, come, we'll give you $15. That's what your thesis is worth to us. Not at all. Not at all. And we'll dispense wisdom when you need it. We'll give you a pep talk. Lots of students come and see me in senior year and say, whatever. I mean, the Kleenex box is there even in November. At least in November, there's still room to correct. But people often come just for advice on the thesis, just on the process. It's good to just have somebody say, look if you just step back and you see it this way, and often it will be something around an advisor. Some of you in this room have been in my office or in the hall at UHN or whatever and had those kind of conversations with me. And you know that I will always help you get the perspective that you need. That's what I can do. That's what Ian can do. That's what we can do. We can help give you perspective, which is often sorely lacking in the thesis process. And don't ever feel badly about coming to get some perspective. We're never going to make you feel bad about that. That's a very natural thing. And we'll try to help you with that. And we usually can. People usually leave feeling a lot better after they have a conversation with somebody who's not actually involved in the project. We just want to support you. And so support can be, moral support. So do come by if you're having trouble. And sometimes, people run into real trouble. Often, if that happens, and it's rare, but, when they do, it's usually with an advisor. And then, sometimes I've had to get involved. And, if it's really compromising you, we will help you in the way that we can, as much as we can. And usually we can. There are ways for us to help. But the day-to-day, just taking care of the relationship, that's what it's about. Just take care of the relationship with your material, with your health. You gotta stay healthy through the writing of the thesis, so you gotta pace it. It's all about, taking care. But especially of taking care of that relationship. Just be responsible. Be accountable to that relationship, always. Take care of it. And you'll be fine, because it's just 4 10-page papers when it comes right down to it. Don't psych yourself out by not getting started on it. I think that's the problem that people have. It's they put off and they put off and they put off. Once you get going on it, it's really not that hard. but it grows in you know, in every way, especially around anxiety if you put it off. So just get going on it. Get going on it right away. Like, tonight. No, but don't leave it. Don't leave it. Okay, questions of any kind? Yes, Becca.
The 1-credit course.
Yes, in Arts and Sciences. HON 201.
Mm-hmm.
You must sign up for it. It's 0 credits, I think, isn't it? It's a 0 credit. It's a 0 credit course, which is sort of a strange thing, but it is. It's a good thing. What it does is it allows them, for one thing, it allows them to see who's writing the thesis. So it's like if you sign up for that course, then they've got a roster. And so that's one of the ways, from just a bookkeeping standpoint, it's really hard for the college to know in Arts and Sciences who's writing a thesis unless they're on a roster. And that's the only roster there is that collects all of the folks who are writing theses, because you signed up for HON 221 or 211 or whatever. And they could collect that way, but it's easier for them to collect if you're signed up for HON 201. So you must sign up for it. So it costs you nothing. If you're at 18 credits already, it's not going to put you over. It's 0 credits. Everybody in Arts and Sciences must sign up for HON 201. But it comes with advising. So you'll get email, because also you'll be on that course, and the instructor for that course, who's one of the associate deans, will email you from time to time and say, totally optional meeting on Thursday at 8. Come, and it's great. Go. Because you're going to get good advice, you're going to get good support, you're going to find out who your people are in the college, and it's a chance for you to get together with other people who are writing a thesis. So it's great. There's no strings attached. You don't have to go if you don't want to go. You're not going to fail the course. You're not going to get a UP for that course. It's just, it's a good support network for you. But you must sign up for it. Even if you never show up, even if they never know who you are in person, you must sign up for the course. I always forget about that because it's sort of this funny little cipher, but it's really helpful, actually. It can be really helpful. So do sign up for it. Yeah. Arts and Sciences. Other questions? Yeah. So
worst case scenario, your proposal gets rejected for whatever reason in September.
Yeah.
How do you reapply if you intend to graduate in May?
You can't really
So
at that point.
Put, like, a pause provision.
Yes, but can I say that if you're working with your advisor on that proposal in a serious way, it's very unlikely that your proposal will be rejected. It rarely happens. And it often happens with people who are not in the honors college, who are doing, to be very confusing about it, college honors, which is, if you're not in the honors college and you want to do a senior thesis, you can. It's called college honors. And they're not getting the kind of support that you're getting. They didn't have HON 101. They don't have the honors college sort of, giving you a sense of how to do that project or how to do that proposal. People have gone through the proposal writing boot camp of the honors college, or who've been in good touch with their advisor and have had a sense from the beginning that this was a project they're going to do. I can't honestly think of a single one who's been rejected. Revision, yeah, but they turn it around super fast, that committee. So you'll submit and you'll hear within 10 days, 2 weeks tops. So you won't have to wait for months. And if you revise and resubmit, it'll get turned around super fast. So if you're submitting, if you're in Arts and Sciences or another college and you're submitting now and you're waiting for a proposal, for the proposal to be approved, assume that it is going to be approved and just get going on it. Mostly they're there to give you feedback. Like it's a good part of the process actually, is to submit a proposal, as you did, many of you, to an anonymous committee. Like they're not the people who are going to work with you necessarily. They might be, but that would be coincidental. And that's a pretty good experience to have. It's like submitting your work in that kind of formal way to a committee that is vetting it. That's another good life lesson. That's just a good thing. It's good to do that. But their point is not to reject you. It's to give you feedback and to sort of help you along with it. It's not to reject you. Other questions? Yeah, Caroline.
If you're planning to finish in December, do you have to do any special paperwork or anything?
In arts and sciences?
No, nursing.
So you should talk to Sarah Abrams about that. And that's always going to be my mantra, is when you're asking specific questions like that about the thesis, I'm always going to say, or Ian's always going to say, you have to talk to the person in your college. And so, on the Honors College website, if you go, do you know this junior, senior? There's two great things for you here. One is the junior, senior curriculum page, and if you go to your college, Nursing and Health Sciences, there's this chart. It's fantastic. And it's the same for every college, the categories. And so if I go down here, it's like structure, timing, enrollment, thesis due date, defense requirements. And then it tells you at the bottom, in many ways, the most important information of all, and that is who your contact is in your college. In this case, it's Sarah Abrams. So if you have questions about, and it's a small number of you in the College of Nursing and Health Sciences who are doing the thesis, so it's not like there's 40 people who are trying to get into her office hours. So you just, but even so, if you're in the College of Arts and Sciences, you email the person who's the contact, and that'll be Amelia Wilcox, and she'll answer your questions. So Sarah will answer your questions, and that is up to the college. So all those kinds of things, the nitty-gritty, when is it due, how is it due, how does a thesis get defended, who needs to be on your committee, all that stuff, that's up to the college. We don't make those rules. Our rule is you got to write a thesis, and it has to be successful.
So you don't need to see anything?
We don't see anything. Isn't that weird? I mean, we don't. We don't. I mean, you can come in and show it to me. I'll look at it. I'll be like a proud mom. But I don't know. You don't turn anything to us. It's all your college. Your college is 100% responsible for this process with you. We just need you to do it. Anything else? No? Really? I answered all your questions? Well, it's just a matter of doing it, isn't it? Really, it's just, that's it. It's easy now. Like, what are your requirements for the Honors College in senior year? The thesis. That's it. Simple. So you just got to do it. Those of you who are, I want to say two more things. One, and that is has to do with the external advising offices that are a bit external to the Honors College, but that are part of our staff. That is the Office of Undergraduate Research. You need something funded for your research. Let's say you have $200 worth of binoculars that you need to buy because you're doing a bird project with Alan Strong in the Rubenstein School, but that's expensive and you need it for your thesis. You apply for UROP through Ann Kroll-Lerner's Office of Undergraduate Research, and that's a rolling deadline, and so you apply. You got to apply formally, but you apply, you get a letter, you get all the kind of support you need to ask for that $200 to buy those binoculars, and you get it, because you should not be out of pocket for your research expenses. So if you need to travel, if you need something like equipment that's not normal equipment, we don't buy books, we don't buy paper, we don't buy ink, we don't do that kind of stuff with your money. But if you need to travel, if you need money in the lab, you need to sequence some DNA, and the grant that your PI has does not cover that, then you come to Anne for a mini grant, and she'll give you $500 to sequence your DNA. I mean, you need to do it as a proposal, so it's all formal. I mean, you have to pass through that proposal process, but it's really pretty standard. And she's great about making sure that students have the information that they need and get approval for those smaller grants for research materials right away. So don't be out of pocket for your research expenses. And that includes things like, let's say you're doing something and your faculty supervisor says there's a conference last year there was a student in MMG who was invited to present her work on C. diff. She's working on C. diff, which is the that gut bacteria that's really interesting. And she was working on C. diff and had done some great work in a lab in the College of Medicine. And there was a conference in London where she could present her work. She'd been invited to present her work, and so we paid for that. So stuff like that. Like if you get opportunities to present your work somewhere, ask, and the door shall be opened. Knock, and the door shall be opened. Ask, and you shall receive. Like there's money. So so make sure you talk to us about that. The other office that's important to you and could be really important to some of you is the Office of National Fellowships. So if you're thinking about grad school and the UK is a possibility for you, you're thinking you might want to be at Cambridge or somewhere, Leeds or somewhere in the UK. There are big UK postgraduate fellowships like the Marshall and the Gates Cambridge, and then the Rhodes, which is the big one. But and it's probably too late if you haven't thought about that for this year, but those are still available to you next year, even after you've graduated. The big one that's available to all of you, again, if you haven't still thought about it today, it's probably too late for this year, but that's the Fulbright. We win a lot of Fulbrights at UVM every year, and you can apply with UVM endorsement and support for a Fulbright till the day you die. As long as you're an alum of UVM, you can apply for a Fulbright through UVM. So you can decide in a couple of years that you want to go to Borneo to study C. diff on a Fulbright, and you're going to go talk to Sheena, and she's going to send you through that process, and you'll get the UVM endorsement, and lots of alums win Fulbrights. So that's open to you whenever. So make sure you know about that, and again, on the UVM website, on the Honors College website, there's a whole fellowships, big, long, they have their own website. So make sure you look at that part of the website if you're thinking about those kind of opportunities. The other thing I want to mention is all of you, regardless of your discipline, are invited, and I hope you will take up you'll accept the invitation to present your work at the Student Research Conference, which is in April every year, in the Davis Center. They take over the whole 4th floor of the Davis Center. It's fantastic. If you're doing creative work, you can show it at the SRC. If you're doing work in the sciences, you know about posters already, so you would put your stuff on a poster. There are also like sessions for you to give your work in a 10-minute presentation. So some students in the humanities and social sciences will choose to do that. But if you've done art, visual art, like studio art, there's opportunities to show your work at the SRC. It's amazing. And I hope you've been to the SRC. If you haven't, I'm sorry that you haven't. It's incredible. But everyone doing a thesis, everyone should be presenting their work at the SRC. Everyone. There's room for everyone at the SRC. And Anne's office has money to print your posters, so you don't have to be out of pocket. But you can have great conversations about your work at your posters or at your presentations or in the Creative Lounge. Wherever you're presenting your work, whatever your work is, it should be at the SRC. Everybody doing a thesis should have their work at the SRC. So I want you to keep an ear out for that and talk to Anne about it. But and typically it's like in March that you would submit, your proposal, but you don't actually have to have it done right then. It's just that you know it's going to be done for this year. I think the SRC was on the 21st of April or something like that. Like it was right around then, and I think it's right around then this year. So it's really close. I mean, you've done your thesis. By the time the SRC comes around, your thesis is done. So so apply to present your work at the SRC. It's terrific. So just write that in your margin somewhere of that notebook you're keeping. It's like your thesis notebook. Write that, SRC, April. Talk to Anne or Lily Fedorko. She's the research coordinator now in that office. I want you to do that. If the thesis doesn't pan out, for many of you in colleges, I don't mean this will happen for many of you, but in many colleges, if the thesis doesn't pan out, you can still get credit for the work that you've done as an independent research project. So if the worst sort of thing feels like it happens to you, or you just lose interest or whatever, something, I want you all to finish. I want every single one of you on that stage in May. But if something happens and you can't finish, the credit's not gone. Like usually you can sort of salvage 3 credits of independent readings and research out of a thesis, even if it's not completed. So I just mentioned that as just the last thing. I don't expect that to happen for any of you, but if it does, it's sort of not, it's not like the end of the world. It's not like you won't graduate if you need the credit. As long as you've done some work, it can be converted into readings and research. Don't do that. Finish the thesis. It's 4 10-page papers. It's not that hard. Or it's a scientific paper and really fun time in the lab. All right. Anything else? All right, you're so quiet. I know I kind of freaked you out. I did? No? Reassuring?
No, we're just tired.
You're just tired. So am I. Okay. Come and see Ian, me, Britt, whoever, if you need us. We don't need to see you. Your advisor needs to see you. Okay. Your advisor needs to see you. Okay. So she got in touch with me a couple of weeks ago and was asking if I knew anybody right now. And I said, I know somebody. I said, I know somebody, but he's a senior now, and they're looking for somebody full time. I don't know what to do with that. And I thought he was meeting. He got all the science stuff, but the coding is all it's like, he's like when we talk, it's like, okay, this is exactly the sort of thing he's saying. So she said she'd still like you to get in touch with them because they're definitely going to be looking for people in May. Yeah, I'm gonna send you an email.
Okay.
And I'll send her. What I might do is introduce you to her.
Like I don't
on an email. And then you can talk with her. She's class in the sophomore seminars, but she's in college as a researcher, but she's actually left that job to work full time with hypothesis as their science person. I think it's exciting. It's young company, young people. Your typical kind of startup.
I wanted to work in a startup after school.
And great.
Yes, it's right. Oh, sweet. Okay, so you had a
And so I started last year and I set up a bunch of my seniors who graduated this past May for health sciences, like life sciences majors, but who weren't ready to go to med school, who didn't want to go to med school, but they kind they were neuroscience. And they weren't sure what they were gonna do. I sat around
We
with
like
her
make
and
things, yeah,
she
the intro,
interviewed,
yeah.
and I think she hired her.
So that's it. I just remember
And they're having, like, they're working on lots of, that they're having actually good work. But it's a lot of work, but it's like, potentially really
Doesn't really matter if it's a lot of work, as long as it's fun.
yeah, no, it's fun, it's really, and that's the, I talked to one of them just last week, and he said it was really, it was great, like, he's working now, but, and I think it's the sort of thing where, like, it's based in Burlington, so they wanna train you here, they want you to be resident, but if you wanted to go to Colorado, at a certain point, like, a lot of it is remote, so it's like, you can be anywhere you want, once you kind of in and you can train, you can do it from wherever, you can do it remotely, yeah, so I think it's a very, there's a lot of great potential to be, you know, really fun and flexible, but, you know, really ultimately quite rewarding, so I'll do that if you're interested. Okay, Chris?
Okay. So this might be more of an and question. In fact, I was thinking it probably is, but maybe I have some advice. I'm in a little bit of a circular. So,
I just realized I didn't turn this off.
oh,
Hang on, sorry, Nick. Okay,
still recording.
over and out.